For more on that, we're joined by Nathaniel Shawouki. He's a Middle East analyst. Thank you very much for being with us today, Nathaniel. Does the purchase of those Turkish drones come as a surprise to anyone following the heating up of the conflict between Algeria and Morocco?
Well, actually, what is interesting regarding the purchase of these combat drones is the communications around it, because it doesn't come as a surprise at all. It was a planned purchase. It's not the first time that this type of movement between Turkey and Morocco happened. It was likely planned before the start of this crisis. Algeria as well has combat drones, 6 of them at the very least. So it is used as a communications ploy to further feed this outburst of heat, but it actually doesn't mean anything in strategic terms, especially regarding a potential willingness of Morocco to engage in any type of conflict. Morocco doesn't want to engage in any conflict with Algeria. They are not the ones actually who are actively fueling it. Algerian probably would disagree with this statement, but they have made repeated calls for appeasement, and they do not have an interest in an open conflict with Algeria at this point. So it's very difficult to strategically link the purchase of these drones, which were planned, as I said, ahead of the start of the crisis, with any bellicose intent on the Moroccan part.
But the two sides, basically Algeria broke off diplomatic ties a few weeks ago. It's not looking good. Question is whether either side is interested in an armed conflict right now, or what is the anticipated next step?
Well, that's very difficult to anticipate. You would have actually a lot of analysts that would say that this time the situation can get out of hand and there is a possibility for an armed conflict. I do not think that this is in the interest of neither of the parties, nor in the intent of neither of the parties, including Algeria. Algeria has started this row mainly for domestic reasons, as a diversion from the Hirak, which is the protest movement that was again starting to gain some followers in Algeria amid economic unrest and as we know, the brutality of the regime that is not fading. So that was a way to scapegoat another, as usually is done in these type of regimes when they face internal difficulties. So there's nothing new under the sun, so to speak. So that doesn't justify an all-out war, especially with the economic costs that Algeria would incur, on top of blocking the economic transactions between Morocco and Algeria, which already harms, paradoxically, the Algerian economy, which is one of the reasons, in turn, of this protest. So this is just a short-term policy on the part of Algeria. Of course, there are major political and geopolitical disagreements that shouldn't be downplayed between Algeria and Morocco, but there always were since the very onset since the independence of both countries. Actually, they were at war briefly after independence. The relation between both have been very, very bad. There were actually over 10 years in the 70s where they didn't have any diplomatic relations. So this is not entirely new. Now, these diplomatic disagreements are indeed very serious, especially the ones involving Israel. I'm referring to the Pegasus espionage scandal, where Algerians are accusing Moroccans to have used an Israeli technology to spy on their officials. This is very significant. I'm not downplaying it, because the Algerian army in Algeria, in the Algerian nationalistic narrative, is a cement of the Algerian nation. It's the protector of the nation, and the fact that it could have been spied on by a neighbor with the help of the Zionist entity is indeed very significant. So it's very much something that will have to be dealt with, but I think diplomatically.